Vasmi Tavevasmi Najivani Tvaya Vinam Iti Vijayarake Tvamayam Chadarike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripasindudevacha Nitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we begin by offering our most humble obeisances to the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus. Under Sri Guru Par Parvaniti Vedava Vishna Om Vishnu Parasto Tarasat Sitsimad Bhakti Vaikhanas Swami Maharaja Prabhupada. And unto Sri Guru Par Parvaniti Vedava Vishna Om Vishnu Parasto Tarasat Sitsimad Bhakti Vaikhanas unto our exalted group of the Varga, and unto most merciful Srimad Bhagavatam, and unto all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis assembled, and those who are not assembled. So, all the Vaishnavas that ever were and ever will be. Well, yesterday we covered some different topics. We discussed the qualification of both the speaker and the student of Srimad Bhagavatam by hearing the verses recited in the first two chapters, the conversations between Sutta Goswami and Shonaka Rishi and the sages of Naimisharanya. Very enlightening to hear their mutual glorification and to hear Srila Prabhupada's insights and elaboration on those conversations. And then, as an overview, because the sages were putting questions to Srila Goswami, we also discussed those, or at least stated our 6 questions. We didn't have time to discuss them. So what were the 6 questions of the sages? Maybe people don't remember. It's hard to remember, just hearing it once. Gurudev gave us a very good trick to help us remember things. And that was having to sit on the stage over a sequence of nights. And he would be there and he would speak. And at any time, we might be called on. And we would have to be called on maybe to elaborate on what he was saying just then. What did I say? What did I say? And then you have to stand up. Or maybe what was said the day before or something. And I remember the first 2 years when I was having to sit on the stage, completely in terror all the time. I know Chudaniman, we've all shared this experience. The terror of having to speak in front of Gurudev and Vaishnavas and failing, our false ego raging out of control. Oh, I'll be exposed for the fraud that I am. In front of Guru and Vaishnavas. But what it did is that you learn to be very attentive. And actually, even when I was Swiss cheese bread, because of that, I can hear much better than I used to be able to. Because they say necessity is the mother of invention, or necessity creates the, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we learned how to listen a lot better. Did you learn how to listen a lot better, okay? I know I did. Not very, still not very good. Yeah, no choice.
Our lives depend on it.
Our
lives depend.
Yes. Our lives, our reputations, our honor and fortune, all depended on being able to hear it nicely. So, we all have to have some kind of urgency. Our urgency may have been, at least mine, may have been motivated by false ego and pride. Still, urgency was there. And so, when we hear the Bhagavatam, we have to have a sense of urgency. The sages of Naimisharanya, they had a sense of urgency because the age of Kali was upon them. They had the foresight and the vision to see the terrible effects. And they were concerned not only for themselves, but for humanity as well. And so they felt great urgency, and when Sutta Goswami was speaking, they were wrapped with attention. There was a story that I was going to tell, but it's too long, but it's told in front of in the beginning of most Bhagavad Saptahas, a lot of speakers will tell the story. It's a story of Gokarna, who was a great sage born under unusual circumstances. At any rate, it ends with him reciting Bhagavatam in order to deliver his brother who had taken the body of a ghost. And over 7 days and 7 nights, his brother, listening very attentively, was actually liberated by the recitation of Bhagavatam. But there was an entire audience who was also hearing at that time, and they were not delivered. And Gokarna and them wanted to know why. And so it was stated that the reason was they didn't feel the urgency. The ghost, his brother, had been trapped in this horrible, unfortunate condition, and so he was wrapped with attention. In fact, ghosts generally wander here and there, and they have trouble staying in a fixed site. So what he did was that there was a bamboo stick lying in the corner of the room, and he put himself into that stick so he could stabilize himself. And the stick had 7 knots. And after each night, the ghost would rise a little higher, and one of those knots would break. And then the next night, and then the next night. After the 7th night, the 7th knot broke, and the brother achieved a spiritual form by the mercy of his brother reciting Bhagavatam purely, but just as important, by his attentive listening. And so when all the people heard that, oh, the reason you weren't liberated was because you weren't attentive, then they realized, oh, okay. So then they organized another Bhagavad Saptaha. And this time they followed the example. Not only was the ghost listening, but because he was a ghost, he was also fasting. He wasn't drinking or eating or sleeping during that entire time. Just like Maharaj Pariksit. When he was hearing the Bhagavatam, there was no interruption. In fact, it's been said at one point, Shukadeva Goswami said, oh, we've been here so long, would you like to stop and at least have a drink of water? No, it's because I wanted a drink of water that I was cursed in the first place. So now I don't want anything, I just want to drink the nectarian recitation of this Srimad Bhagavatam. So then all the people in the village that were listening to the Bhagavatam from Gokarna, they assembled again. And this time they followed the same vow. And they weren't eating or drinking and sleeping. And after 7 days, all were liberated. So if the speaker is pure and if our intent is pure, we'll get the full result. But as we'll hear today, that even a beginning of hearing nicely will do something incredible. Krishna will be attracted to a person who hears the Bhagavatam. This beautiful little section in here of Vishwanath Thakur reveals the result of hearing Bhagavatam. So anyway, that brings us back to the question that began all this. What are the 6 questions of the sages? Well, first question they asked was, what is the highest benefit to humanity? What's the topmost thing for all of humanity? Then they said, well, we're very confused. Even though we're very expert in so many divisions of the scripture, there's so many different conceptions that are given there. Can you take the essence and the best of all of them and speak this to us so that, again, our hearts will be satisfied? Okay. Then they asked, why did Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appear in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? Why did he do that? What was the purpose? Then they said, and we want to hear about the glories of Avatari Krishna. He who is the source of all other avatars, tell us about his beautiful pastimes. And not only that, that's 4. Number 5, tell us about the pastimes of his different incarnations, which are also splendid and wonderful. And telling the pastimes of Krishna and his incarnations automatically also means, tell me about the pastimes of his devotees. And then number 6, now that Krishna has left this world, where have religious principles gone for shelter? Where do we go for shelter? Where do we look? Right? And so, in the next chapter, chapter 2, chapter 3, 4, 5, those questions will begin to be answered. And then throughout the Bhagavatam, the activities of Krishna and his various incarnations will also be described. And then the topmost essence and ras will be described and personified, not just described, it's described in a summary way in the second chapter. We heard this yesterday. Vaikhanas Maharaja quoted that verse, Savaya Pum San Parodharmo, Jato Bhaktir Atom Kajay, Ahoy Tutia Pratyataya Natmasam Prasidati. That topmost objective and goal for all humanity is to render loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adhokshaja. He who is beyond all mundane quality, all mundane perception, transcendental Lord. And such service must be ahoituki apratyata, must be unceasing, without breaking, and unmotivated in order to completely satisfy the self, meaning Krishna and us. Unmotivated and uninterrupted. So this is one of the beautiful definitions of Bhakti in the Bhagavatam. So then I was going to explain the 10 subjects of the Bhagavatam and the 4 essential verses, but then I don't think we're going to have time to get into the first 3 verses, which is what we wanted to do as well. Little note to anybody who is ever going to give a class, or a series of classes. We were discussing this with Vaikhanas the other day. It's very difficult to figure out how to condense it into, nice digestible pieces, adjust it to audiences of varying adhikar, and fit it into an ever-changing schedule. You have to think really carefully. As I mentioned yesterday, I kind of overdid it. And also, you have to practice so that you know in advance how long each little segment's going to take. So I didn't do that. So now I'm learning for the next time. Anyway, as we mentioned yesterday, Srila Gurudev discussed these first 3 verses in Badger, California in 1999 in a series of classes that has since been turned into a book called The Secret Truths of the Bhagavatam. Anybody here ever seen that book? Amazing book. Wonderful, wonderful book. And in that, Gurudev describes to a very broad and diverse audience the essence of not just these 3 verses. He begins with these 3 verses, and then some of the second chapter, which is a summary of Bhakti and the process. But then he goes on to the conclusion and topmost conception of the Bhagavatam. He gives a very wonderful description of 10th canto and some of the deeply confidential pastimes. But Gurudev was so expert that he could explain these pastimes in such a charming and chaste way that anybody that would hear them would be automatically attracted and elevated towards that, but with no tinge or taste of mundane lust, no conception that this could be anything material. Gurudev was so powerful, and even our gutter-like minds were raised up by his amazing katha. So let's do the first 3 verses. Does anybody know these first 3 verses or ever studied them? When I was a new devotee, these are some of the ones that we were encouraged to memorize. And especially for you young guys, if you memorize them now, even in your later years, you'll be able to hold on to them. But in your later years, if you try to re-memorize or newly memorize verses, it doesn't work. Sometimes they say after the age of 40, you're finished. Short-term memory. Some people can memorize something. But in the last 10 years, I've memorized so many shlokas. But you can't retain them. But these shlokas, I remembered when I was a kid. And I can still remember them by bringing them up. So now's the time. And it seems like a big, long thing, but it's not really. They're not so hard. Not so hard. So, this is the invocation verse of the whole Bhagavatam, and everything is included in it. And Vishwanath Chakravarti on the first verse gives 26 pages of explanation. Srila Prabhupada also gave very long purport and commentary to this first verse, which I also read for this class. And he weaves Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's points in a very artful way, in a way that people with no background or introduction will get some grasp. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's audience was an audience of scholars and people with backgrounds, either as a member of one of the other sampradayas who had not come to this Krishna conception of Bhagavan, or persons that were of the impersonalist school of Shankaracharya, or people that were absorbed in the ritualistic, fruitive, seeking aspects of Vedic literature, and all also had a materialistic conception. Not, very much like Bhakti Vinod Thakur, because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also came during a dark time in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. After the period of Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, and Shamananda Prabhu, they did so much work to spread Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but again, by the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, different misconceptions had come up, and he came again to purify them. It said that he was empowered by Rupa Goswami, or even sometimes that he was a part of Rupa Goswami. But in any case, he reestablished this proper conception. So I can't cover his points in depth. We would need a big board. We would have to go all over the word for word, because what he does is like Gurudev does, but Gurudev did it in a very simple way. Every word in the Bhagavatam, all the different words can have multiple meanings. And so just as when Mahaprabhu was discussing with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and then later with Sanatana Goswami about the Atmarama verse, by giving different definitions of different key words, then a different meaning to the verse can be presented. It's all adjusted. And so that's what he does with these verses. But the detail which he does it in, and then the supporting shastric statements which he gives, it's like overwhelming. I guess you could spend like a few days on each verse very, very easily. And I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, you're not a Sanskrit scholar, so we'll just go over the main points and see how far we go. Okay? Ready? Okay. Now what if I stop in the middle of the class and say, you, what if I just said, stand up, speak? Will you be ready? No. Okay, so here's the first verse. Next year, what would be good, maybe, is if we had one of those projectors.
Overhead.
And,
Overhead projector.
Overhead, or one projectors you could just hook up to a computer and then the verses would be there.
We had it last year, but then
I asked the teachers, they said we are not going to do that. We're just going to speak straight out the ears.
Okay. I see. Well, I have different points of view on that. I like the visual aids.
With the beginning last year, everything was very, very attractive.
You should have come last year.
Well,
But for next year, when you are
snooze, you lose. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janma Jashikam Vayaditaratascha Krishna Tene Brahma Hridaja Adikavaye Moyanti Jatsuraya Te Brahmarimatam Jata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Yamnasvena Sada Nerasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. There are two translations to this verse. One is Srila Prabhupada's translation, which is in the style of Gurudev, where it's kind of a bhavanuvad, where he is not only giving the direct translation of the words, but also some explanation based on his commentary, some elaboration. And then there's another translation which Bhanu Swami gives based on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is going to give 5 translations to this verse. And each translation will be based on a slightly different explanation. So this is Srila Prabhupada's famous translation. Any of his disciples will know this, having read it hundreds of times, I'm sure. O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the 3 modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. And therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Now, frankly, I used to read this verse for years and years, and I could never really grasp all of the way that Srila Prabhupada was translating it. Because if you read the word for word, it kind of expands upon many of these meanings. But then, after reading the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I realized that Srila Prabhupada is basing his translation on that commentary. And I began to understand and appreciate it much more. And this is something, the nature of a great Mahabhagavan, when they're commenting. And this is one of the dangers that you encounter when you don't have any genuine Vigyan yourself. There was a phenomenon during Srila Prabhupada's time and also during Srila Prabhupada's that sometimes people will take up academic study of Sanskrit and say, oh, I want to study Sanskrit because this way I can really understand all the meanings and I'll be able to speak very nicely. And done in the right mood, of course, it can be favorable to Bhakti. Well, what happened during our time is that the people that were studying Sanskrit and doing translations and editing for Srila Prabhupada, they had a poor fund of knowledge and virtually no realization. So they would read Srila Prabhupada's translations and commentaries and then say, wait, this is not what it says. This is not what it means. This word means this and this word means that. But without having combed the deep commentaries of previous acharyas and not having read Tattva Sanyarbhas and of Jiva Goswami and the commentaries of Sanatana Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they were in way over their head. But they began to think that, oh, Srila Prabhupada's scholarship is wrong. And they would find that they fault. And gradually commit offense. And almost all of these Sanskrit scholars left and fell down because of criticizing and went away for good. A few remained. A few remained. And during Gurudev's time, he had some very qualified people also that were following him everywhere, but at some point that same disease came in. So, oh, I know better than my guru. Or my guru's misunderstood the words of this acharya or that acharya. No, guru understands perfectly. And you have to hear the words of guru and pray that they be revealed to you. This is revealed knowledge. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. Bhagavat Tattva is revealed knowledge. It's not knowledge that can be grasped or understood simply by the machinations of your mind and intelligence. So now, the obvious question is, okay, so why are we reading the translation of somebody who's not a perfectly realized person like my godbrother? Well, Srila Prabhupada wanted us to read these commentaries, and he did instruct his disciples to, translate. So it's not perfect, but done in the right mood, in humble way, we get something of it. I think you mentioned, Gurudev said, we get 20, 30%, something. Yes. So, warnings given, disclaimers and everything. So, now the first commentary. Let us meditate upon the absolute truth of Krishna, who is the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction of this universe, as the material and efficient cause, since he is the only knower of all objects and the only independent being, who revealed the Vedas to Brahma within his mind, who is difficult to understand even for the learned, whose body is thought to be made of matter due to illusion, just as one mistakes fire, water, and earth for each other, and who negates all false arguments regarding his existence by possessing a transcendental, inconceivable form, and by the strength of devotees experiencing him through his Swarup Shakti. So before he begins, the Srila Chakravarti Thakur also offers his obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is like a sweet shower of mercy, producing a river of devotion to himself, where the jivas play like elephants in that transcendental Ganga. So, he begins. Here we go. First explanation. And Srila Prabhupada says the same thing. He begins by explaining that this verse is actually a commentary on Vedanta Sutra and a commentary on the Buddha Vedanta Sutra, which is the Gayatri Mantra. And that is invoked by the word Dhimahi, I meditate upon. I meditate upon what? The end of the verse, Satyam Param Dhimahi. Param means the highest limit. Satyam means the Supreme Lord who exists in all time and space. So the beginning of the verse, well, it's actually the end, that's how Sanskrit works, is that the object of this verse is that Satyam Param, the Supreme Lord, the highest conception of the Supreme Lord, Dhimahi, let us meditate upon. And this also correlates to the very first of the Vedanta Sutras. It's stated that this Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. And so you've been hearing these first 10 Vedanta Sutras over the past 2 days. This is a statement beginning to reveal the very first one. Adkato Brahma Jigyasa. Now we meditate on and try to understand that Supreme Brahman. So Dhimahi Satyam Param. So now, what is being talked about? The Lord's supreme power. He begins by saying, Janma Yastitataha. This is also the second Vedanta Sutra. What does Janma Yastitataha mean? It means we're meditating on that Lord who is, from whom arises creation, maintenance, and destruction. Janma means birth, and Adi, Janma Adi, means the rest, maintenance and destruction. So he's saying this is the first thing that we understand. Bhagavatam is saying this is describing the nature of the absolute truth. Krishna Chakravarti Thakur says, oh, but I thought that time was the cause of this universe. Has anyone here ever read Brahma Samhita by Srila Gurudev, his commentary? Okay. If you want to understand or begin to understand all of this complex tattva about the creation of this universe, this is the book to read. This, along with some Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 3rd canto, help you grasp this a little bit. But time is understood to be the activating agent of the material energy, because the material energy is in a dormant state. But time is the personification of the semblance of the glance of Lord Vishnu cast upon this dormant material energy. This semblance, this glance, is actually Shambhu. It's a form of Lord Shiva, son of Shiv, who activates his own energy, his own consort, Mahamaya, who is that dormant pradhan, and with that glance, it begins to stir. And first we get the evolution of Mahatattva, then the 3 modes of material nature, and then in sequence, from subtle to gross, the material creation, the primary material creation, the first stage, begins to take place, and all the ingredients begin to manifest. And time is considered to be the activating agent. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying this verse does not indicate time, it says the Lord is the cause, because he is the material and the efficient cause. Anyone ever read Chaitanya Charitamrita? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also gives some elaborate commentary on this idea of ingredient cause, material cause, efficient cause, and it's very complicated because there's primary causes and secondary causes, and again, it's very technical. But here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying the words Anvaya Itarata. Anvaya means the material and efficient cause, and Itarata means the opposite. He says that everything in this world is understood through cause and effect. And so the Lord, in relationship to the universe, I understand it this way. It's like the earth is the material cause, and it's inherent in the pot. Now the pot, what's it made from? It's made from earth. The earth is in the pot. The pot is caused by the earth. So the pot is an effect, and it's inherent in its material cause, the earth. So the pot actually exists as an aspect of earth. So the Lord is the Upadan Karana. That means he is also the material cause. He's the original source of all ingredients. And he's also the efficient cause, the Nimitta Karana, which is time. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes that. The efficient cause, if you've got the earth, which is the ingredients for the pot, you need a potter who orchestrates and by whose desire all this is done and manipulates everything to actually happen. So you've got different things which cause creation. And this is how he's describing the function of the Lord. Essentially, without going into too much detail, the Lord is the cause of creation and destruction. Because not only does he stimulate creation, but he also winds it all up and it all comes back into him. And Itarata, it means, without the board, it'll be really hard to follow. All right, I'm not going to go into all the detail of all the words. Essentially, what he's saying in all of this is that the first part of the Ganta Sutra, Atato Brahma Jigyasa and Janmajastitaha, discover, meditate, realize that absolute truth. That absolute truth is the cause of creation maintenance, and destruction. So the Lord himself, originally by his desire, as the Purusha avatar, Mahavishnu, he desires that creation takes place. By his own expansion, Sadashiv or Shambhu comes to act as his agent. And the expansion of his own consort, Brahmadevi, the goddess of fortune, that expansion is Maya Shakti. They are the material counterpart of the Lord, of the Mahapurush, Mahavishnu, and his consort. And they are the ones that are responsible for the creation of this material world. It's the Lord's desire, and it is originally his energy, but in order that he not have a direct connection with this, he does it through his expanded agents. So this form of Shambhu, who is actually also expansion from Sadashiv in the spiritual world, Vishnu Tattva, this Shambhu is a semblance of the Purusha avatar. Shambhu is a form of the Lord who is touched by the quality of the Lord of ignorance, touched by the quality of Jiva Tattva, touched by the quality of Vladini Shakti, and thus is capable of functioning in that role, interacting with the material nature, because the Lord himself has no direct contact. Nevertheless, he is the original cause of everything by his desire, and because it's through his experiences and agents that it all takes place. Okay. So, then, Tene Brahma Vidya Adikavaya. The Lord originally spoke this to who? That same Lord empowered Lord Brahma. Tene Brahma Vidya. He spoke this knowledge to Lord Brahma in the heart. The Adikavaya, the original learning personality, is Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is our original guru in our sampradaya, the original learned person in all the universes, and he is also responsible for the secondary creation. That is, the first creation is when the material universes are manifested from a dormant, sleeping, non-manifest state to where all the ingredients and everything are there, ready to be used. And then Lord Brahma is created, and then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who is resting within each universe in a personal form, he creates Lord Brahma from the lotus stem coming from his own navel. Brahma exists there, and then by meditation and austerity, he's blessed by the Lord and given creative power. He's given creative power. And like a contractor who takes the ingredients and the plans given to him, because all of that existing in a subtle way in that same lotus stem that he's resting on, all the ingredients, all the living entities, everything is there waiting for him to use and put into form. And so when Lord Brahma is given that knowledge by the Lord, then he can take everything that the Lord supplies and create planets, all the bodies for the living entities, the entire environment which we know. This is the work of Lord Brahma. So, Lord Brahma does not have independent powers. His power and capacity is based on the mercy of the Lord. Tene Brahma Hridaya. It's given to him in that heart. So, Krishna Chakravarti Thakur gives some supporting statements for that. Then, now we're talking about, okay. That's enough for that. Now there's another explanation. Second explanation. First explanation is the Lord in terms of his creative power and his capacity as original and secondary creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the universe. Second explanation is about Krishna himself. He says, let us meditate on Krishna, who is known as Satya, through his abode Mathura and by revelation of his form to his devotees, destroys ignorance concerning himself, whose body, though appearing to be material to the demons, is not temporary at all, who, after appearing in Vasudev's house, went to Nanda's house, knowing how to cheat Kamsa, and who, knowing the appearance of his devotees praying in Braj, remained there because of his own people, though he is in all cases independent, and who revealed that the cows and calves were actually the supreme Brahman to Brahma by his will, which bewilders even persons such as Nara. So here, by changing the meaning of a few of the words, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is stressing that this verse is explaining about Krishna. It doesn't change that the first explanation is true. He's giving further, deeper explanation. There are 5 explanations. All of them are true. But each one goes a little deeper and broader into the tattva here. So for those who have more understanding, he's saying, oh, this verse doesn't only describe Krishna as the Purush avatar, as the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the universe. It's describing Krishna in his Leela. As coming from Vrindavan, going to Mathura, his body, although performing human-like pastimes, is not material, not temporary at all. And these verses, or these particular words, can't get into detail. He appeared in Vasudev's house, went to Nanda's house, cheated Kamsa. All of the words which are describing aspects of creation are now being used to explain very specific pastimes. And that knowing about the praying of his devotees in Braj, he remained there because of his attachment and being controlled. He says that this Satyam Padam Dhimahi must explain Krishna, because this form of Krishna is the supreme Angi, the cause of all other Angas. In this case, Anga means a limb. If you've got Angi, and the different parts of the body are the limbs. So all the different topics about Krishna, these are Angas. So Krishna is the supreme Angi, and so this Bhagavatam must be speaking about him. This is the chief form of the Lord. This is what is being spoken about in this verse. Then he says, having explained that the cause of the Lord's appearance is his mercy, his pastimes are also described. After his birth, Janmadhyataha, in Vasudev's house, he showed his form of Vishnu, described his previous appearances, etc., and then later he went to the house of Nanda. Aru Ayat, he went elsewhere, Itarata. So in the first verse, Anvaya Itarata meant directly and indirectly the cause of all cosmic manifestation. Here it means he appeared here and then later went elsewhere to the house of Nanda. Why did he go? Abhidya Arteshu. Abhidya means, his knowledge. He knows his own purpose. Arta can also mean purpose or function. And what was his purpose? He had to cheat Kamsa. He had to perform pastimes in Braj. He had to do so many things. He had to experience the special praying of the devotees in Vrindavan. This is his purpose. But going there does not mean that he's dependent on others. He's independent. Abhidya Swarat. Swarat means independent. But he remained there. Why? Because of his relatives and their praying, under the control of their praying. And to show his control and his relationship, now the verse, instead of saying he imparted unto Brahma the creative power, in this case it means Tene Brahma Hrida, it refers to the pastime of Brahma Vimohana Lila, where Krishna revealed his extraordinary nature to Lord Brahma by creating duplicate cowherd boys, hiding his own cowherd boys for a year in another prakosh, and then revealing to Brahma and putting him under illusion, and thus purifying and elevating him. So, different meanings, more rustic meaning. The first meaning is very technical about Krishna's capacities in relationship to this world. Now it's getting into more deeper meanings about Krishna and why he came to this world really. Not just to reveal Srimad Bhagavad Gita and principles of Dharma and to protect, against the demons, but actually to demonstrate extraordinary pastimes. So then the third explanation, this one, it's Brahma again, but he's getting a different instruction. Rather than being instructed about how to create the universe, he's being instructed about Krishna's unique relationship with his devotees in Vrindavan by the pastime of Brahma Vimohana Lila. They just give different ways. So if you look at his definitions, there's lots of different ways they describe Kavane, Adi, and all these different definitions. But in this case, this Brahma is being taught something different. I can go back and give you the exact word for word, but I can a little bit bogged down. Well, one Adi Kavane is Satyavat Muni. Another one is Shukadeva Goswami. Yeah, and Vyasadeva. Gurudev gives a little different than what this commentary is, which is trying to reconcile the two. In the fifth one, for instance, Gurudev mentions Mahaprabhu as one of the persons, and Rupa Goswami as the Adi Kavane. Mahaprabhu is not mentioned in this particular one. Bhakti Devi is the last one. But it's okay, because actually you really appreciate Gurudev's when he said that. Okay, so, third explanation. Let us meditate on Krishna, from whom arises Madhura Ras, through meeting and separation, who as the hero, most skillful in everything related to Ras, is beyond the material realm, who conveyed to Bharat Muni the same Madhura Ras about which other poets are bewildered, and whom alone arises the three types of literary meaning in extraordinary form, and who defeats the withered arguers by the extraordinary influence of the experience of Madhura Ras. So here he says, let us meditate on Krishna, from whom appears the highest ras, Shringar Ras, Janma Ad Yasya. And then he gives a technical explanation of how Adya means Adi Ras. Gurudev simplified that, but it's actually very beautiful. That when you think about it, that actually to be able to perceive in this formal Sanskrit language such a deep explanation that Adi Ras, that in this verse, which seems to talk about all these technical things about Krishna and his energies, hidden deep within it is the word Adi Ras. He says, just as Bhima Sain is represented by the word Bhima, right? And we know that. We contract each other's names so much, right? Take some long name and just give the short part of it. So Adya Ras is represented by the word Adya. So by saying Jan Ma Adya, it means Adi Ras. But you have to be very Rasik to be able to perceive that, right? Or because Bhagavatam is considered to be the scriptural form of Madhura Ras, Hibaka Bhagavatam Rasam. By the proximity of the verses, the word Adyasya can infer the word Rasasya as the object which is being described. And then those words, anvayat itharatas, direct, indirect, a thing and its opposite. Here, because we're talking about Adi Ras, it's describing the nature of praying, which includes meeting and separation. They're able to detect that this quality of praying, this quality of Ras, is described, and part of the element or part of the beauty of it is its two counterparts, two components. That in order to fully experience and understand Ras, there has to be the Ras of meeting and the Ras of separation, its opposite. Then he says there's an elaboration on the of the vibhav in the form of the alambana. It's technical. Vibhav is an aspect of Ras. It has two components. It has alambana and it has udipan. Udipan means that which stimulates Ras. Alambana means the foundation. Alambana has two components, the Vishaya Tattva and the Ashraya Tattva. Vishaya Tattva means the object of service, the object of love. Ashraya Tattva means the abode of love. So Krishna is generally considered the Vishaya Tattva. Radhika and the devotees of the Ashraya Tattva. He's saying that Krishna is knowledgeable or skillful, abhigya, in all things suitable for Ras, such as the 64 arts. So the 64 arts and their expression are like Udipan. Krishna is expressing and exchanging these things as one of the components of the lambana. Because the lambana has to have the object of service and the receiver and the giver of service. But the beauty of this alambana is that while all the devotees perceive Krishna as the Vishaya Tattva, the object of service, Krishna himself is experiencing that Radhika and his devotees, they're the object of his love. For him, they are the Vishaya, and he is the Ashraya, because he is the abode of love for them, and they are the abode of love for him. So, actually, Krishna feels great, great love for us, and therefore he's giving us this Bhagavatam, calling to us. So, he alone conveyed the truth about Adi Ras, Brahma, through his mind, Hrida, unto Bharat Muni, Adi Kavaye, the famous exponent of material Ras. So even though Bharat Muni was mostly speaking about material Ras, this knowledge is coming to him from Krishna. But he's saying that now that there's this element in the first verse, how great sages are bewildered by the three modes of material nature, and they make earth appear to be water. How does earth appear to be water? What is glass made out of? Glass is made out of earth. Glass can appear to be water. How does earth bewilder? Sometimes earth appears to be water. You ever see a mirage? You know, different elements can appear differently by the influence of the material modes of nature. So, in the same way, this rasa, it is the topmost, it is so beautiful, but great poets are bewildered because they think that these are the activities of ordinary heroes and heroines. But when you examine closely the statements of the Bhagavatam, you will see that the activities of the ordinary heroes of the Vedas and their heroines are nothing comparable to the activities of Krishna and his gopis. But materialistic people will be bewildered by Krishna's energies. Because later on he's going to explain that the Bhagavatam can be understood in different ways and at different levels according to people's adhikar and eligibility. Just as Mohini Murti cheated the demons and blessed the demigods, So the Bhagavatam will give people an appreciation or understanding according to their capacity. But the Dhammaniac person will never be able to grasp the truth of the Bhagavatam. They will remain bewildered and accept that which is transcendental and pure and spiritual to be material. So now, the fourth explanation. What is the fourth explanation of the Bhagavatam? Without deceit, in correct manner, aspiring to the highest goal, we meditate on Radha and Krishna, from whom arises the height of the Madhura Rasa. Gurudev says Radha, but he includes Krishna, because Krishna's always with Radha. But actually Radha is the next meaning. By giving up the other gopis and following only her as Dira Lalita, he showed his expertise in the chief aspects of Ras, and she exhibited herself as an independent lover. Krishna, what is a Dira Lalita? Dira Lalita lover is somebody who's very expert in pleasing his beloveds, but he's also controlled by their love. So Krishna is a Dira Lalita lover when it comes to Radha. He may be able to be independent from other gopis, but he can never be independent from Radhika. So, in this case, Krishna imparted through the heart to Shukadev, the knower of this Ras from birth, the Bhagavatam, by which the devotees faint in ecstasy and undergo transformation, just as fire and water and earth reverse their properties, and by whose influence the three Shaktis remain eternally. So, in this verse, he's saying Radhika is the secret meaning. And when Gurudev used to speak about the Bhagavatam, he actually said something more. He said that actually every word of the Bhagavatam is describing the glorifying Radhika. We may not be able to detect that, but he's saying very clearly that a deeper meaning here is the glorification of Radhika. The other night in Srila Bhaktivedanta Bhartamaharaj's classes, those words, Anvayat Itaratas Cha, he was saying also the same point that's going to be made by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, that this refers to Krishna who follows Radhika. That Anvayat means Anu, he who follows who? Radhika. Itarata means Radhika. So Radhika is the independent lover who by her praying controls Krishna, and he gives the verses from the Bhagavatam which support that idea. There are two verses in the 30th chapter, verses 27 and 28. After Krishna had left the Ras Leela, and all the gopis were searching everywhere for him, they couldn't find him anywhere. But then they detected some footprints, Krishna's footprints and the footprints of another person. And they say, here, you see the footprints of some gopi who must have been walking along with the son of Nanda Maharaj. He must have put his arm on her shoulder, just as an elephant rests his trunk on the shoulder of an accompanying she-elephant. Certainly, certainly, this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of God Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. So, and over here, that intelligent boy must have put her down to gather some flowers. Just see how in this place dear Krishna collected flowers for his beloved. So, all the different meanings of the words point to Krishna being fully knowledgeable of this Ras, and Radhika being the supreme object or person to exchange this Ras. So we've had four explanations so far. Krishna as the creator, maintainer, destroyer, Krishna himself, Adi Ras, Madhurya Ras, and now Radhika herself being the topmost abode or vessel of that Ras and the topmost object of Krishna's love. And then the fifth explanation let us meditate on the most beloved spiritual process, which is beyond the three modes of material nature, which brings about the appearance of the Lord as Bhagavan, and by which there is realization of Brahman and Paramatma in the processes of Jnana and Yoga, which is complete knowledge independent of other processes, which is revealed by now to Vyas, but which is bewildering to even great sages, which is not mixed with the three gunas, and which defeats its opponents by its very nature of giving direct experience of bliss. So this is a description of Bhakti Devi herself. And this must be there. There must be a description of Bhakti Devi, because questions of the sages were what? What's the topmost process? What's the topmost engagement or object for humanity? So Vaipum Sampano Dharmo Chitok Bhaktir Atok Kajaya. So he says that the process of bhakti is indicated by scriptures as the avideya by which ashraya, Krishna, can be attained. Because Krishna be ashraya. It brings about the highest realization and attracts even Krishna. That bhakti then becomes the prayojana, praying. Thus, bhakti yoga is considered the subject of the verse. This is another meaning. So this is a speciality also. And Gurudev made this point many times, that in the process of bhakti, as opposed to other processes, when you perform other processes and you complete them, then you reject the process. Yoga, karma, all of these different things, they're a means to a separate end. But bhakti as a process and bhakti as a goal are the same. It's just that in the process of sadhana itself, bhakti is not mature. But it will lead to maturity, and when it does, it reveals itself fully. There's a nice verse, and you've heard it, Gurudev would quote this a lot. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa satanabhida nitya siddhasya bhavasya akatam hridi sajjata. Know that verse? Yeah, all these verses. Hope this.
He knows what?
I know, he knows like 20 times verses. You know that verse? So, this verse explains how this process, what is bhakti? When one is performing the activities that are meant to achieve bhav, you're performing activities of the same activities by those who are bhavuka, who are rasik and realized persons. By performing the same activities they perform with the goal of bhav in mind, something extraordinary happens. That which is eternally existing in the heart, nitya siddhasya bhavasya, this perfection, this dormant, sleeping perfection becomes awakened. This is the nature of bhakti. So, sadhana bhakti and pure bhakti, they're both part of the same thing. Pure bhakti is the mature revelation, and sadhana is the imperfect expression, but under proper guidance and with the proper goal. But without bhav as the objective, and without understanding your objective, your sadhana won't provide the same fruit. That's why Gurudev felt it so incumbent upon him and so important to describe the fruit, the real fruit that we aspire for. Because if you don't know that, then the mood and the intent of your performance will not be appropriate. It will not be proper. The practice of bhakti has two components. It's the chakshta, the activity is there, but the mood is also there. So even in the beginning stages, the proper conception must be there. Because if you don't know where you're supposed to go, you'll never get there. You just wander around aimlessly. Right? You never get there. So this bhakti is explained in the last verse after having perfectly concluded what is the object of this verse. This is the means, this is the end, but the means and the end are Radha and Krishna and Haridas. So this whole first verse is a summary of the entire Bhagavatam. That Bhakti is the process, Krishna is the object. Any Krishna knows. Krishna that went from Mathura to Vrindavan, that engaged, was controlled by the prema of his associates in Vrindavan, whose highest aspiration was to taste Adi Ras with Srimati Radhika and her followers. This is the summary of the first verse. And Srila Gurudev gave one more thing in Bhajan. He said that this verse also refers to Mahaprabhu, because Mahaprabhu is both Radha and Krishna combined, and he came to give the highest understanding of Bhakti and its highest goal. And Arpita Chiram Chanat Koravyamakirna Kalo, Samahayatam Unnata Ujjala Samstavati Sriyam. This highest conception, which is confidential service to Srimati Radhika in this mood of Adi Ras. And the Adi Kavya is who? Rupa Goswami, right? Who is really the true Adi Kavya, the topmost of learned persons. Yes, yes. Who received them? Some he wrote directly, some he received from Sudhavadar. Yeah. Okay, so he says in summary, so the first explanation of the verse shows its nature as a light-giving, deliverance from misery through general understanding of the Lord. The second explanation shows it as the sun, more powerful, destroying misconceptions of the demons, bringing joy to the devotees. The third and fourth explanations, and fifth, show it as the bestower of tasty fruit, full of ras, revealing Madhura Ras, Radha, and pure Bhakti. So it's an evolution. And then he says something very nice. Is it here? He says, different people will understand the Bhagavatam differently, and he cites this verse where Krishna entered the arena of Kamsa. Gurudev would always cite this verse to show that the various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt, the men of Mathura as the best of males, the women as Cupid in person, the coward men as their relative, the impious rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of the Bhojas, Kamsa, as death personified, and the unintelligent as a material form. The yogis as the absolute truth, like Bhagavan, and the Vrishnis as their supreme worshipable deity. So according to your position, you will see Krishna and you will see the Bhagavatam in different ways. But for one who is truly inquisitive and hearing from the right source, this topmost explanation will be very clear and very appreciable. But it's amazing, until you hear it from a pure devotee, you'll never get it. Because we read this for years and years, and Srila Prabhupada clearly states, when you read his purport in the light of after having heard from Gurudev and so many others, and from reading commentaries of Sanatana Goswami, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, and others, you can see Prabhupada is saying it. But without their revelation and without hearing from them, it's still a little covered. It's not clear. So Gurudev always said that the pure devotee, the treasure chest is there in the scriptures, but the pure devotee and his words, his speaking, is like the key that will open it up and reveal it. Okay. Well, like I said, I made a mistake here. Like I said, didn't really practice this. And so I could have given these 5 explanations more like Gurudev did. very expert creative. How can we ever be like him? He was able to condense it and make it easily understandable in a much shorter time. I got all caught up in detail, wandered here, wandered there, didn't do a very good job, and thus the second and the third verses are not there, not being described. But I'll give
little time for question.
question.
Yeah, I have question, so you should let a little time.
Okay. Let me just. Okay. Let me just speak the second and third verse very briefly. No. I will be here. I'm leaving in 1.5 hours. Bye.
Any questions are there?
Okay, questions. Questions by the sages.
I know Gurudev told that Srimad Bhagavatam and others, we know that Bhagavatam is a natural commentaries of Vedanta Sutra. But actually, who said this first? Because how do we know exactly that Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentary?
It's quoted in some Purana. Which Purana is it? Huh?
Garuda.
The Garuda Purana says it directly. That this it's compiled after the direct commentary on the Bhakti Sutra. And even if it's not stated explicitly, if you read the commentary version of Chakravarti, where he breaks down some of the key aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra, and then shows how the Bhagavatam follows them. So in the Satyam Param Dhimahi, Janmasya Tato Brahma Jigyasa. He's showing directly how those are compiled later on in other. He takes actually, I remember distinctly the first 5 Vedanta Sutras. He's showing through evidence what they mean through the Bhagavatam, how the Bhagavatam is explaining them. So,
following sequences, like
yeah.
always explain the Vedanta Sutra, so the Srimad Bhagavatam follow this.
And also, he not only gives the Bhagavatam verses, but then he gives supporting verses from the Upanishads and other Shrutis to substantiate his claim of what the Bhagavatam is saying. You know, about the transcendent nature of Krishna, about the supremacy of Krishna's form as Bhagavan, about the supremacy of Krishna's form as Gopal in his own abode, you know, distinct from other parts of Vaikuntha and the impersonal Brahman. The Upanishads have all that, but you have to know where to look.
Just one. I tried to see how Bhagavatam is commentary on Vedanta Sutra. It is not a mula bhashya, meaning, in sequence. It's all separate here and there. But the mood is there, and all the Upanishads, the first 3 cantos.
Right.
Everything is there.
And Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the natural.
Yes, but if you want to see, like, well, are they following up? Each verses is following it doesn't. Not in the order.
But this verse covers the first
First 5.
5.
Yes.
Yeah.
First 5
Sutra.
That means the Srimad Bhagavatam has been written after Vedanta Sutra.
Of course.
Yes. It's the last thing.
That means the older Purana was before Upanishad. What is the
Upanishads are spoken first. The Puranas are a sort of explanation of the esoteric meaning of the Upanishads because they contain stories, instructive stories, and more clear elaboration by different sages and realized kings about the lessons of the Upanishads, so that people that aren't able to perceive through meditation the very obscure, indirect meanings of the Upanishads, they'll be made more clear through the activities and pastimes and directly spoken words of these other persons.
Wasn't it the Srimad Bhagavatam? Yesterday they compiled all Vedic literatures. He was not happy. And then only after we wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, then
Bhagavatam was there, but only in the 4 verses. Only those 4 verses were there.
those 4 verses are related to Vedanta.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah.
Today we are discussing that.
Some?
Chapter slowly.
No, we're discussing Jivata.
Tomorrow we're discussing.
No.
Also says in the top of Sandarbha that it's
Tattva Sandarbha is all the Shat Sandarbha explanation of Jiva Goswami of the Bhagavatam, and he's also using the Vedanta.
Anyway, well, I'm here. I apologize. I know it was a little rambling, but you put up with me trying to do it. Did the best I could.
You said also that Bhakti can be called like this if you only have a goal in your Bhakti. But actually also, some Bhakti can be done without knowing, Agyata Sukriti, then still you make advancement. You don't know, just like it is said, you can take a medicine, but you don't know the powers, but it still works. In the same way also, Bhakti, in a way, can be done even without knowing the goal.
That's
So
actually
also
not
comes out the true
Bhakti.
idea.
That is Sukriti. Sukriti. The real definition of Bhakti, well, the highest definition is pure Bhakti. And then everything else is Bhakti mixed with something. So this is described, Srila Gurudev describes this really in an interesting way in his commentary in Bhagavad Gita. Because Arjuna goes through progressive stages of instruction from Krishna. And in the beginning, the word Guna Buddhi Bhakti is there. But it's not really Bhakti. That means that somebody has material desires, karma, and so they perform karma yoga, but their genuine intent, most intent is for material result. But they mix a little of the process of bhakti in there. But the karma and the material activity predominates, and bhakti is an ingredient to achieve that. But gradually, because of some sukriti in the performance of that activity, because of some connection with bhakti, then by the plan of the Lord, and this is the nature of varnashram also, then gradually, one becomes more and more eligible. And then one gains the capacity to cultivate a little jnana, a little knowledge, the difference between matter and spirit. And then one becomes a little detached from the fruits. And then one may come into nishkam karma yoga, where externally it appears to be the same, but there's more detachment there. And closer to bhakti. And then one becomes conscious that actually bhakti is my goal, but I'm still very attached. And that's when Krishna tells Arjuna, you have a nature of the kshatriya, you must still fulfill that. But offer all the results of your activities to me. And whatever you do, offer it to me. That's called Pradhani Buddha Bhakti, where, again, there's still identification with the body, the necessity to perform activities in relationship to qualification, but bhakti has become more prominent, more and more prominent, becomes a prominent element. And gradually one becomes progressively more eligible for bhakti. But real bhakti really only begins to dawn in Madhyam stage. When one has overcome an artist, one has a clear conception, unattached and undeviated. And then the conception of bhav as the goal, then one is actually entering into bhakti. As it is. But if it's not pure, how can it be considered bhakti? How can sadhana be considered bhakti? It's described that, like when you do a fire yajna, the yajna is the fire sacrifice itself, right? what gives the result. But Jiva Goswami says, but still, the gathering of the wood, the making of the fireplace, the decorating, the placing of the fruit, all of this can also be considered part of the yajna. So our preliminary stage of performing sadhana bhakti, although not perfect, is still connected with pure bhakti because it's related.
What he says is that the preparation is like sadhana bhakti.
Yeah.
And the lighting of the fire is like bhav bhakti.
Yeah.
And the fire itself is prema bhakti. So it's sadhana bhakti that's the preparation. These three distinctions are the progress of this.
It's the Bhakti Thakur said, the food remnants of Lord Jagannath, worship of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Upon eating these remnants, praise will arise from the heart. This is a very important point. You know it or you don't know it, you don't even know what is bhakti, but taking the remnants, respecting, eating the remnants of Lord Jagannath, praise will arise in the heart. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada was very much emphasizing distribute. And Gurudev said the same, if you honor Mahaprasadam from authentic, original Thakurji, very, very powerful.
Well, if we had gotten into the second verse, there's a very beautiful description by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur of the effect of hearing the Bhagavatam. And it says, by hearing the Bhagavatam, Krishna becomes captured in the heart. And he says, so how is that possible? In anybody's heart? He says, yes, even somebody who's impure, who doesn't have, any greed or even faith, just by hearing Bhagavatam, Krishna becomes so pleased that they're hearing it that he becomes greedy to enter that person's heart. But then he says, still there's stages of progression, that when one is hearing with full attention and full faith, then the full effect is there. But even in the beginning, even if one doesn't have faith or affection, if one just hears it, then Krishna will become attracted to that person. But he becomes conquered by the person who hears in the way like those kinds of personalities. Anyway, very lengthy description, very beautiful, but know for certain that our even imperfect attempt to recite and hear Bhagavatam is very much appreciated by Krishna and by our Guru Parampara. And because it's been given by our Guru Parampara, that's the third verse. He talks about you can't approach Bhagavatam independently, but if you approach it through our Parampara, because Brahma, he gave it to Nard, and Nard gave it to Vyas, and Shukadev tasted it, and then Shukadev has given it to all of our Guru Parampara. Thus, it becomes very accessible. It may be at the top of the tree, we can't get it, but they're passing it down. And thus we have access to it. Actually, it's about three different explanations. One says it falls to the ground, fully ripened and ready to go, with no seeds, no skin, no pit. Another says it has to be passed down. Another says the tree Vyasadeva put it in the mouth of Shukadev, and that's how we're tasting it. Anyway, very beautiful explanation. The point is, we're hearing it, and if you hear it with any degree of faith, you get so much more benefit. So much more benefit and appreciation. So we've been given this gift by Guru Parampara. Srila Prabhupada gave it from the very beginning. Srila Gurudev emphasized it everywhere he went. He gave a beautiful lecture. If you want to read an amazing book, read The Secret Truth of Bhagavatam. I've said this before, but I remember when I was sitting in that class, there's even film of it. We're all sitting there in our different ways. You were Urkram, your white cloth thing still, I think. 99, maybe you changed, or maybe in Vrindavan that year you were going to change. I don't remember. I had, my army clothes and, my nice haircut. and everybody was there, but I remember hearing that class and hearing them talking about the greed and the qualification and the benefit of hearing. I remember being affected by how profound and powerful that class was, and I wonder if it would have an effect on me, and I prayed that it would. I prayed that it would. And I guess to some extent, because of that prayer, even though you don't see it in your own life immediately, if you look back on your practice of bhakti over the years, if you look back, where were you 10 years ago? Or 5 years ago? Or when you think, okay, now you're just starting out, in 10 years you look back. And each day you'll think, oh, I'm not making any advancement, oh, it's just horrible.